Focus on yourself until you win. Let that sentence sit with you. Say it again. Focus on you until you win. Because no one else is coming to rescue you. The world is not designed to protect you, reward you, or guide you gently toward success. It is designed to pressure you, test you, and expose your weaknesses. And if you hesitate, if you drift, if you spend your best years chasing comfort instead of strength, the world doesn't just move on without you. It consumes you. This isn't pessimism. This is clarity. Life is competition. It always has been. Civilization just dresses it up to make it easier to swallow. Underneath the rules, the smiles, the politeness, there is still a hierarchy. There is still conflict. There is still a silent struggle for position, leverage, and control. Every man is part of it whether he admits it or not. Some choose to hunt. Others choose comfort and end up hunted. The question isn't whether the game exists. The question is which role you're playing. Weakness is not ignored. It is punished. The world does not reward hesitation. It does not protect those who fall behind. It exploits them. Every interaction carries intention. Every opportunity has a price. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to win. Not every helping hand is clean. Walking through life assuming everyone has your best interest at heart isn't kindness. It's negligence. And negligence gets men destroyed. That's why the first rule is simple. Focus on yourself before anything else. Sharpen your skills. Harden your mind. Remove distractions. Build yourself until you are no longer easy to manipulate, pressure, or break. Because the man who is useful, disciplined, and self-directed becomes dangerous, and the dangerous man is respected. Forge your mind into something solid, not emotional, not reactive. Solid. Control your emotions the way a master controls a wild animal, not by killing it, but by training it. Emotion is power when you command it, and weakness when it commands you. Build quietly. Grow without announcing it. Let your progress speak for you when it's too late for anyone to interfere. The men who win aren't the loudest. They aren't begging for approval. They aren't broadcasting every move. They are grounded, composed, and internally stable. That is how men become unmovable. History proves this again and again. Every empire, every dynasty, every structure of power was built on one foundation: domination, not morality, not fairness, not wishful thinking. Domination. That doesn't always mean violence or cruelty. It means control. Control of self first, then control of circumstances. If you live as though the world will reward you for being good, polite, or agreeable, you don't become virtuous. You become a pawn in someone else's plan. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He saw the world as it is, not as people wish it were. He warned that the man who understands fear and respect understands power. Not one or the other. Both. So ask yourself honestly, are you waiting to be chosen, or are you choosing yourself? Because no one drifts into power by accident. The path upward is demanding. It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires cutting distractions without guilt, and ignoring opinions that don't contribute to your growth. Lesser men will criticize you for this. Let them. Their comfort depends on you staying small. When you lock in, when you truly decide that your life will move forward on your terms, the game changes. People will call you cold. They'll call you ruthless. They'll call you distant. That's fine. Noise comes from those who aren't winning. Silence belongs to those who are. So ask yourself, are you predator or prey? Are you building or being used? Because choosing nothing is still a choice. and it's usually the worst one. Now let's talk about power. Power makes people uncomfortable. The weak talk about it like it's dirty or dangerous. The strong understand it like oxygen. Power isn't just money. It isn't just status. It isn't even strength by itself. Power is control. Control over your actions. Control over your environment. And when necessary, control over outcomes that involve other people. The law of power is simple. If you don't shape the world, it shapes you. If you don't impose structure on your life, someone else will. There is no neutral ground. Nature doesn't do balance. It does dominance. That's why power must be your focus. Not attention, not comfort, not approval. Power is the base currency of reality. With power, you create options. Without it, you react to whatever comes. One bends reality. The other is bent by it. Men are not driven by morality. They are driven by necessity, by advantage, by fear of loss. Strip away the stories people tell about themselves, and you'll see it clearly. Every handshake is an exchange. Every friendship has conditions. Every alliance lasts only as long as it serves both sides. The man who refuses to see this stays dependent. The man who understands it becomes self-reliant. Power starts internally. If you cannot command yourself, you cannot command anything else. Most men aren't free, not because they're chained, but because they're ruled by impulses. They can't resist distraction. They can't control their time. They can't say no to short-term pleasure. Fear, lust, envy, and insecurity dictate their decisions. And a man ruled internally will always be ruled externally. Self-mastery is the foundation. Control your habits. Control your emotions. Control your attention. Until your will is steady and unbreakable, freedom is an illusion. A man without self-control is just a puppet, useful to the world, but never respected by it. Once you master yourself, you extend that mastery outward. You learn to read people. You observe instead of reacting. You notice patterns, insecurities, motivations. Power isn't about fighting everyone. It's about understanding where influence already exists and using it precisely. People are predictable. Their fears move them faster than their ambitions. Appeal to desire and they follow. Touch fear and they obey. This isn't cruelty, it's realism. Power without discipline collapses. Reckless men self-destruct. Controlled men build legacies. That's the difference. Be calm when others panic. Be warm when it serves you. Be cold when it protects you. Every move must support the larger strategy, your rise. You will be criticized for this. The powerless always attack what they don't understand. They'll call you manipulative. They'll call you heartless. They'll call you dangerous. And they won't be wrong. Because a man who understands power cannot be controlled, bought, or shaken. In a world where most men surrender before the fight even begins, that kind of man stands alone. So remember this: power first. Everything else second. Build yourself into something solid. Build your mind into a weapon. Build a presence that commands respect before you speak. Because once you do, the world doesn't change. You do. And that changes everything. Now, let's move deeper into the strategy of silence and shadow. Most men believe power comes from speaking, from explaining, from proving, from announcing who they are and what they plan to do. That belief alone keeps them weak. The strongest weapon you possess is not your voice. It is your restraint. Silence, used correctly, is pressure. Mystery is leverage. And the man who cannot be read cannot be controlled. Look at history. The most dangerous figures were never transparent. They did not reveal their intentions. They did not broadcast their emotions. They observed, they listened, they waited. While others talked themselves into exposure, these men gathered information. And when they moved, it was decisive. When you speak too much, you leak power. Every opinion reveals alignment. Every emotional reaction exposes a weakness. Every unnecessary word gives someone else a handle to pull. Silence closes those doors. Silence forces others to guess, and people fear what they cannot predict. This is not about being antisocial or withdrawn. It's about positioning. When you are quiet, people project onto you. They fill the gaps with their own assumptions, and those assumptions often work in your favor. A man who reveals nothing becomes larger than he is, darker, more capable, more dangerous. Because the imagination of others will always exaggerate what it cannot see. Machiavelli warned that revealing your full hand is the fastest way to lose power. Strategy must be concealed. Intentions must be cloaked. You don't win by showing people your plan. You win by letting them believe they already understand you right up until they realize they never did. The average man craves validation. He overshares. He explains himself. He talks about his goals before he's earned them. And in doing so, he drains his own momentum. Talking feels like progress, but it isn't. Execution is quiet. Results are loud. Silence builds gravity. When you say less, your words carry more weight. When you don't rush to fill space, others reveal themselves. Let them talk. Let them justify. Let them expose insecurities and intentions. Every conversation becomes an intelligence-gathering operation if you're patient enough. A pause at the right moment can destabilize someone more than confrontation ever could. Silence creates tension. Tension creates control. But silence alone is not enough. It must be paired with discipline. Discipline is the line most men refuse to cross. They admire it from a distance, but never embrace it. They want the results without the structure, the image without the sacrifice. And that's why they stay average. Power without discipline turns into chaos. Ambition without order collapses. A man who cannot command himself has no right to command anything else. Discipline is not motivation. Motivation fades. Discipline remains. Discipline is survival. The world does not reward good intentions. It rewards consistency. It rewards men who act regardless of mood. Men who execute when it's uncomfortable. Men who do what must be done even when no one is watching. Most men fail here. They fantasize about dominance. They talk about success. They imagine power. But the moment discipline demands discomfort, they retreat. They choose sleep over progress, distraction over focus, comfort over growth. And every time they do, they reinforce weakness. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't offer excuses. It demands obedience from you. A disciplined man sharpens himself daily. He removes what weakens him. He builds habits that compound. He understands that every wasted hour is a betrayal of his future position. Every indulgence has a cost. Every excuse strengthens his competition. This is where ruthlessness comes in, not toward others first, but toward yourself. Ruthlessness is clarity in action. It's the willingness to cut away what doesn't serve your rise. Comfort, laziness, distraction, even identities that no longer fit who you are becoming. The disciplined man does not negotiate with weakness. He eliminates it. Because weakness tolerated becomes weakness repeated. Your habits decide whether you build a throne or dig a grave. There is no middle outcome. The man who suffers with purpose gains leverage over the man who avoids pain. Pain, when chosen, becomes currency. Discipline is how you invest it, and the return is freedom. Ask yourself honestly, where are you undisciplined? Where do you delay? Where do you lie to yourself? Every time you choose comfort over action, you sell a piece of your future for short-term relief, and relief never builds power. The ruthless man understands this. He knows the world bends to action, not intention. Action sustained over time becomes identity. Identity becomes destiny. Discipline is not glamorous. It's repetitive. It's boring. It's lonely. But it is the foundation of every empire that ever existed. Respect is earned through discipline. Wealth is built through discipline. Power is secured through discipline. Men who lack it are outworked, outlasted, and replaced. Now let's talk about fear and respect. There are only two forces that reliably create obedience: fear and respect. Everything else is temporary. Popularity fades. Approval shifts. Praise evaporates. But fear establishes boundaries. Respect builds loyalty. Together, they create control. You must choose which one you want more of. The man who wants to be liked will always compromise. He will always bend. He will always seek permission. The man who commands fear and respect stands firm. He doesn't beg. He doesn't chase. His presence alone sets the tone. Machiavelli was clear on this point. Love is fragile. Fear endures. If you cannot be both feared and loved, it is safer to be feared. Why? Because love depends on emotion. Fear depends on consequence. But fear alone is unstable. A man who rules only through fear invites rebellion. Respect balances it. Respect comes from competence, from consistency, from discipline, from the knowledge that you can deliver results and enforce boundaries. Boundaries must be set early. The first sign of disrespect must be addressed. Tolerated weakness becomes repeated behavior. Enforcement does not need to be loud, but it must be certain. Unpredictability strengthens control. When people cannot anticipate your response, they move cautiously. Caution creates leverage. Competence earns respect even from enemies. Master your craft. Be undeniable. Withhold approval. In a world desperate for validation, the man who rarely gives it becomes powerful. People chase what is scarce. Fear keeps people in line. Respect keeps them loyal. Together, they create obedience. This is not cruelty. It is reality. The weak man tries to please everyone and ends up respected by no one. The strong man stands indifferent. He doesn't need to be liked. His results speak. His silence weighs heavy. His discipline shows. Do not confuse attention with power. Do not confuse applause with control. A man can be admired and still be powerless, but a man surrounded by fear and respect becomes untouchable. And that brings us to the next layer, psychological warfare. Because every battle is fought twice, first in the mind, then in reality, and the man who wins the first fight rarely loses the second. Psychological warfare is where real dominance is decided. Most men think battles are physical. They think strength, aggression, or confrontation is what wins. That's surface-level thinking. Every serious conflict is decided in the mind long before anything happens in the real world. If you control perception, you control behavior. And if you control behavior, the outcome is already yours. Force is expensive. It creates resistance. It leaves traces. Psychological control is efficient, clean, quiet. and once established, it sustains itself. The first principle is perception. You must learn to appear stronger than you are, calmer than you feel, and more dangerous than you need to be. Perception creates belief. Belief shapes reality. If people believe you are unshakable, they hesitate. If they hesitate, you win before you act. Confidence alone is not enough. Confidence without control is noise. Presence is what matters. Presence is felt, not announced. It's in your posture, your pacing, your silence. A man who is internally stable unsettles those who are not. Calm unnerves chaos. The next principle is doubt. Doubt destroys faster than aggression ever could. You don't need to overpower a man if you can destabilize his certainty. A pause, a look, a question left unanswered, a delayed response. These small things begin to erode confidence. Once a man questions himself, he becomes his own enemy. This is why emotional discipline matters so much. If someone can provoke you, they can control you. Anger makes men predictable. Predictable men are easy to defeat. The moment you react emotionally, you surrender leverage. Instead, remain controlled. Respond slowly. Let others reveal themselves. The one who controls the frame controls the interaction. Never argue inside someone else's narrative. If you accept their frame, you've already lost. Shift it. Redefine the context. Stay calm when they want reaction. Stay silent when they want justification. Silence disrupts expectations, and disruption creates dominance. Intimidation is not volume, it's restraint. The calm stare, the deliberate pause, the refusal to rush. These unsettle people far more than raised voices. When you don't react the way others expect, they lose their footing. Unpredictability is another weapon. If people can map your behavior, they can manipulate you. Consistency in values is strength. Consistency in reactions is weakness. Be stable internally, but flexible externally. Sometimes you respond immediately. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you engage. Sometimes you withdraw. The uncertainty forces caution. Scarcity amplifies power. When you are always available, you are cheap. When you withdraw, your value increases. Distance creates gravity. People fear losing access more than they desire constant presence. Learn when to disappear. Learn when to reappear. Control access to your time, your energy, and your attention. Not every battle requires engagement. Some are won by absence. Some by silence. Some by letting others exhaust themselves while you remain still. The strongest chains are invisible. Most men are already defeated before confrontation begins. Their lack of discipline, their craving for validation, their emotional volatility. These are open doors. All it takes is one well-placed seed of doubt, and they begin to collapse on their own. This is not cruelty. It is awareness. You are not responsible for protecting others from reality. You are responsible for protecting yourself from being controlled by it. If you refuse to understand psychological warfare, you become subject to it. There is no opt-out. Now let's move into emotional control, the fortress that protects everything else. A man who cannot master his emotions will never master his life. He will be pulled by anger, tempted by desire, paralyzed by fear, and weakened by ego. His reactions will betray him long before his enemies do. Emotional control is not suppression. It is command. You do not eliminate emotion. You weaponize it. You decide when it is shown and when it is hidden. You feel fully, but you act selectively. Emotion becomes a tool, not a master. Your enemies don't need to outthink you if they can out-emotion you. They just need to provoke you, make you angry, make you desperate, make you careless. The moment you lose control, you hand them the advantage. History is filled with powerful men who fell not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked restraint. One impulsive decision, one emotional outburst, one moment of ego, and everything collapsed. You must become different. Calm where others rage, still where others panic, silent where others beg to be heard. This calm becomes unsettling. It signals that you are not governed by external pressure. Picture chaos around you, noise, accusations, threats. The weak man reacts and is thrown around by it. The controlled man stands unmoved. That contrast alone establishes dominance. Anger must be channeled, not unleashed. Raw anger makes men sloppy. Directed anger makes them precise. Fear must be acknowledged, not obeyed. Fear sharpens awareness when controlled. Desire must be restrained. Lust, greed, vanity, these have destroyed more empires than war ever did. Ego is the most dangerous emotion of all. The need to prove yourself is the leash others use to control you. When you must be seen as right, strong, or superior, you become predictable. Silence the ego, and you remove their leverage. Control is redirection. You decide how emotion is expressed, when, and why. A controlled man is not empty. He is efficient. He chooses when to be fire and when to be ice. This is why emotional control terrifies people, because once you have it, you cannot be manipulated. Insults bounce off, threats fall flat. Flattery has no effect. You remain centered, and the centered man controls the interaction. Now let's talk about adaptation. Rigidity is death. The world shifts constantly. Power moves. Alliances change. Conditions evolve. The man who refuses to adapt clings to identity instead of outcome, and is crushed by change. Adaptation is not weakness. It is intelligence. You bend not because you are fragile, but because you are strategic. The strongest structures in nature are not rigid, they are flexible. They absorb pressure and redirect it. History is clear. Empires collapse when they mistake strength for permanence. Rome, Persia, Egypt. Power never stands still. You must move with it or be replaced by someone who will. The adaptable man studies chaos instead of fearing it. He sees opportunity where others see instability. He understands that survival belongs to those who evolve fastest, not those who cling hardest. Adaptation requires awareness. You must read people, read trends, read shifts before they fully reveal themselves. Most men react too late. They wait until damage is obvious. You must move when cracks first appear. Adaptation also requires ruthlessness. When something no longer serves your mission, you cut it. Strategies, habits, relationships, identities. You do not mourn what you outgrow. The snake does not apologize for shedding its skin. It survives. This does not make you disloyal. It makes you alive. You must be many things to many people while remaining loyal to one thing. Your rise. Fire to one. Ice to another. Ally here. Threat there. Never allow yourself to be boxed in or defined. The world will judge you for this. Let them. Those judgments come from men who drown while clinging to certainty. You will not drown. You will adjust. Because the man who adapts without hesitation becomes inevitable. And inevitability is power. Now we arrive at a truth most men avoid, the isolation of the elite. If you plan to rise, understand this early. The path upward is lonely. Not because you hate people, not because you think you're better than them, but because most people are not willing to pay the price required to follow you. And they shouldn't. This path is not for the many. It never has been. The higher you climb, the fewer companions you will have. Comfort thins the herd. Discipline separates it further. Silence finishes the process. Machiavelli understood this reality clearly. A ruler cannot live like the ruled. He cannot think like them, move like them, or want what they want. Power demands distance. Perspective demands separation. Not because of arrogance, but because proximity to weakness weakens. The masses crave ease, entertainment, reassurance. They want to be distracted from responsibility, not burdened by it. The elite crave mastery, control, precision. These two mindsets cannot coexist for long. If you try to walk both paths, you will fail at both. To rise, you must detach. Isolation is not punishment. It is refinement. When you step away from noise, you hear yourself clearly. When you remove constant validation, you learn self-trust. When you walk alone, you see reality without the filter of group approval. Most men never experience this because solitude terrifies them. They mistake silence for emptiness. But silence is where strength forms. Isolation exposes you. Your weaknesses surface. Your excuses have nowhere to hide. Your fears speak louder. This is the crucible. And most men escape it the moment discomfort appears. They rush back to distractions, relationships, entertainment, anything to avoid facing themselves. You must do the opposite. You must stay. Because once you conquer yourself in isolation, no external force can dominate you later. Solitude builds self-reliance, and self-reliance is the backbone of power. Understand this clearly. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. The friends who say they want your success will feel threatened when you outgrow them. The family who claims to support you may not understand why you've changed. The people who benefit from your weakness will resist your strength. Do not resent them. They are not built for what you are becoming. The path you've chosen requires sacrifice, time, relationships, familiar versions of yourself. That doesn't make you cruel. It makes you committed. Power has a cost, and isolation is part of the payment. The elite operate differently. While the masses seek attention, the elite cultivate presence. While the masses broadcast everything, the elite conceal. While the masses chase comfort, the elite endure discomfort to sharpen their edge. Isolation is where discipline deepens. It is where habits are forged. It is where emotional control becomes instinct. And when the elite eventually re-enter the world, they return transformed, more focused, more dangerous, more precise. This isolation is not permanent. No empire is built entirely alone, but the early stages demand separation. You must prove you can stand without support before you can command it. Isolation burns away dependency. It removes false confidence and replaces it with competence. It strips away identity based on approval and replaces it with identity built on action. When you return from isolation, you don't need to announce your change. People feel it. Your posture shifts. Your voice slows. Your presence carries weight. You no longer seek inclusion. You set the standard. Now let's talk about the final command, the law beneath all others. Dominate or be dominated. There is no middle ground. Life does not reward neutrality. Every man exists somewhere in a hierarchy, whether he acknowledges it or not. You are either shaping your position or being shaped by someone else's will. You are either climbing, falling, or being crushed. The weak pretend this isn't true. They cling to ideas of fairness and equality to soothe their discomfort. But reality is indifferent to belief. There are leaders and followers. There are controllers and the controlled. There are those who decide and those who react. If you refuse to choose, life chooses for you. And the result is never favorable. Domination does not always mean titles or authority. It means control. Control over your time, your habits, your direction. Control over what enters your mind and what leaves it. Control over your environment. Self-domination comes first. If you cannot control your impulses, you cannot control outcomes. If you cannot master your habits, you cannot master circumstances. The man who controls himself already dominates most of the world because most men cannot. Once you have self-control, you dominate your environment. You remove what weakens you. You eliminate distractions without apology. You shape your surroundings to support your mission. You do not explain. You do not justify. You do not seek permission. A king does not ask to rule. He enforces structure, and when necessary, you dominate others, not through chaos or cruelty, but through clarity. People crave leadership. They want direction. They want strength. If you do not provide it, they will follow someone else. Why shouldn't that someone be you? Machiavelli taught that men are driven by fear and self-interest. Accept this truth. Do not resent it. Use it. Inspire loyalty through strength. Inspire caution through presence. Be generous when it strengthens your position. Be ruthless when it protects it. Mercy without wisdom is weakness. Domination is not emotional. It is calculated. It is patient. It is inevitable. Every move serves the larger mission. Every word carries weight. Every silence creates pressure. You are not here to entertain. You are here to reign. Those who doubt you, let them watch. Those who resist, outgrow them. Those who oppose you, defeat them with results so undeniable that their resistance turns into silence. Because real domination is quiet. It does not beg for recognition. It does not seek validation. It does not rush. It builds patiently until resistance collapses under its own weight. Domination is the mountain that does not move. Kiowa, a storm that cannot be stopped. The presence that cannot be ignored. Engrave this into your mind. The world is not built for fairness. It is built for conquest. If you are not the conqueror, you will be conquered. So decide. Dominate your habits. Dominate your emotions. Dominate your direction. Dominate your environment. Because only then do you earn the right to stand among the elite. Only then do you become untouchable. And once you accept this truth, your life will never return to what it was. There is no turning back from clarity. This is where everything stops being theory. Up to now, you've heard the principles: discipline, silence, emotional control, power, adaptation. But none of that changes your life unless you cross one line. The line between understanding and execution. Most men never cross it. They collect ideas, repeat phrases, and feel strong for a moment. Then they return to the same habits. This is where you don't. Because at the end of all strategy, there is only one choice: dominate or accept being dominated. There is no neutral ground. There is no safe middle. Every man is either shaping his life or being shaped by someone else's will. If you hesitate, the decision is made for you. Domination begins with ownership, total ownership. No excuses, no blame, no hiding behind circumstances or other people. When you choose domination, everything becomes your responsibility, your failures, your position, your results. This level of accountability terrifies most men. That's why they avoid it. But accountability is not a burden. It is freedom. Because what you own, you can control. First, you dominate your habits. You decide how your day begins. You decide how it ends. You decide what you consume, what you tolerate, and what you eliminate. You stop living reactively. You stop letting impulses, notifications, cravings, and moods dictate your actions. Most men live like this and call it normal. It isn't. It's submission. A man who cannot control his habits cannot control his future. Structure replaces chaos. Consistency replaces motivation. Discipline becomes non-negotiable. Then you dominate your emotions. Anger no longer hijacks your decisions. Fear no longer freezes you. Desire no longer blinds you. You still feel emotion, but it no longer commands you. You acknowledge it, then act from logic and intent. This is where you become dangerous. A man who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. A man who does not chase approval cannot be manipulated. A man who does not react impulsively cannot be trapped. While others explode, justify, and panic, you remain steady. And steady men always win. Next, you dominate your environment. You remove what weakens you. You cut distractions without apology. You limit access to your time and energy. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop negotiating with people who benefit from your hesitation. This will upset people. Let it. Resistance is proof of movement. If no one is uncomfortable, you are not changing fast enough. A man who dominates his environment does not ask permission to grow. He grows and lets others adjust. And yes, domination eventually extends beyond yourself, not through cruelty, not through chaos, but through clarity and consequence. People crave direction more than they admit. They follow strength instinctively. If you refuse to lead, someone else will, and you may not like who that is. Domination over others is not tyranny. It is structure. Expectations are clear. Boundaries are enforced. Rewards are earned. Consequences are real. This creates order. Order creates loyalty. Weak men beg. Strong men decide. Understand this clearly. Real domination is quiet. It does not argue. It does not threaten. It does not announce itself. It builds silently and patiently until resistance becomes irrelevant. Those who doubt you will mock you early. Those who envy you will question you later. Those who fear you will respect you in the end. Do not explain yourself. Outgrow them. At this level, motivation is no longer needed. Motivation fades. Identity remains. Discipline becomes automatic. Focus becomes natural. Action becomes inevitable. You no longer wait to feel ready. You act because action is who you are. And this is when the world begins to shift. Not because it becomes kinder, but because it senses that you are no longer movable. Your presence carries weight. Your silence creates pressure. Your absence is felt. You have become solid, and solid men are rare. So understand the final truth. Domination is not about destroying others. It is about refusing to live small, reactive, and dependent. It is about claiming authorship over your life.